Today's call is a big one. I want you to tag your new coaches, get them on, because this topic is so, so important for everybody. Let me introduce her to you because she started coaching 6 years ago. I can't believe that. 6 years has been flying by, but she's going to talk about when her business really, really started, not just at sign up. Remember, you have a sign up date and a start date. All right. So she has been an elite coach 2 times, you guys. She's a 7-star diamond coach, and she has spent 44 months in Success Club. Success Club, helping 3 new people every single month with a total solution. You guys, her team name is Hustle with Heart. And I can't believe in all the years I've been doing this call, I've never had a coach from Los Angeles, California. You guys, Calie Calabrese, come on into the call.
Hi.
Did you know that, Calie? Like
I know that.
somebody from Los Angeles, my home. All right. Calie, so good to have you. Thank you. I'd like you to just go right in and talk about that wake-up call moment that you had when you started coaching.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here, you guys. And I loved everything that Keyshawn shared, and there's so much to be excited about. And I'm so excited that I'm actually here for it, because there were some moments where it was doubtful that I would get to this point in my business. So you guys might recognize my last name, Calabrese. Autumn is my sister, in case you don't know and you're wondering. If you've done 80-Day Obsession, maybe you saw me, recognize me from the cast. So like Sandy said, I've been coaching for 6 years, but I say that I have been consistently coaching for just about 4 years. So let me take a minute to tell you guys the real story behind my business, because it actually starts 3 years before 80-Day Obsession even existed. So the first time I actually signed up to coach was in 2014. Like, that is so long ago. Can you believe it? And it's when Autumn was launching 21-Day Fix, like not the live version, the original 21-Day Fix. And at that time, I was a holistic health coach. I owned and ran a bar studio in my small town. Obviously, Autumn was my sister. And it felt like a natural extension, Beachbody and the coaching opportunity, to what I was already doing. And I was so excited to jump on board to, number one, support my sister and the amazing program that she had created, but also to build a business, because I really believed in health and wellness. I was so passionate about it. My bar studio really barely broke even at the time, and I just genuinely loved helping people transform their health, and I wanted the opportunity to do more of that. So my heart and my passion were definitely there, and I bet a lot of you guys can relate to that. But here's what happened for me. A bunch of people told me I was going to crush it. It was only logical. I had everything going for me. You know, oh my gosh, Calie, you're going to be diamond in 30 days. You'll be an elite coach in a year. And I didn't even know what those things meant at the time, right? But I got so excited. Like, I wanted this so badly. And I made a list of like my 20 people in my warm market that I could reach out to. I sent out some emails. I put up a Facebook post. I announced what I was doing. I talked about 21-Day Fix. I talked about the program. I told people what they would get, that we would do this together. And I think I got like 5 people for that first group, which I really should have been excited about, helping 5 people start to transform their life. But I was actually disappointed, because I had set this expectation for myself that it was going to be easier than that I was going to help all these people, that I was going to blow up my business. And I felt like I had failed to meet the expectations that I took on based on everyone else's thoughts of what this should look like for me, what I should be able to accomplish. So instead of going all in on those 5 people and helping them get amazing results in an accountability group, instead of going all in on the program myself and having my own amazing transformation and experience that I could share, I let fear and limiting beliefs creep in. And after 3 months of what I would now call halfway trying, kind of sort of trying, because I was frustrated and disappointed, putting up the occasional post, promoting the program, inviting people to join me. I basically ended up talking myself out of the business and out of success, and I quit. I quit before I really even got started. And I had a whole lot of valid excuses, right? I should focus on my bar studio. I'm too busy with my health coaching and homeschooling my kids. This is too salesy for me. I made all of the excuses. People are going to think I'm just in it for the money. And I talked myself out of the opportunity, right? I talked myself out of the business and I quit. And just to make a really long story short, because like I said, this is 3 years before I really became a consistent coach. For the next 3 years, I repeated that exact pattern. Every time my sister launched a program, I relaunched my business. The hype was there. Ooh, it's a new program. This is so exciting. Okay, this is going to be the time I do it. I'd reach out to my coach. I'm in this time. Let's go. I'm ready. And I relaunched. And I never lasted for more than 6 months before I quit again. It didn't matter that I was a health coach, right? And I had any kind of background knowledge. It didn't matter that I was a nutrition coach or that I was Autumn's sister. None of those things helped me to actually find success. So what did? Well, in 2017, everything changed for me. And that is when I shifted my mindset from what I would call being a launch coach to a consistency coach. And I finally found the success that I had been dreaming about, that I had been hoping for such a long time. So a lot of people think 80-Day Obsession made me successful because I was in the cast. But the truth is, 80-Day Obsession made me successful because it changed my mindset about this business. It was actually the first time, this is sort of embarrassing to admit, as a coach for 6 years, that 80-Day Obsession 3 years ago was the first time I went all in on a program and completed it from start to finish. First time. And when I did, I realized everything that I had been doing wrong.
I cannot believe your honesty. That story about you saying, people were saying to you, you're going to crush it. I think that's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Because that means somebody sees something in you and says, wow, you could really be successful at this. But then if you're not successful, then you feel deflated or defeated. And you're like, I cannot believe it. Everybody thought I'd crush this thing and I'm not crushing it. So
yeah, I feel like I let them down. I disappointed all these people.
Yeah. And I appreciate your honesty. You thought, or everyone thought, you're Autumn's sister. Of course you're going to be successful. But everyone comes with the same, everybody comes with the different, skill set, and everybody has to make their own way. And I so appreciate your honesty in this, because I think about it whenever I interview people that are athletes or something. It's oh, well, you have a leg up, you're going to be really successful. And if they don't, match up to that confidence level and belief in themselves, it doesn't fly. So anyway, I'm rambling, but thank you for sharing that very vulnerable story. Now, your topic is so perfect for today. I want you to just go right in. I won't interrupt you again, I promise.
Okay. I love how you said this is about making your own way, because for me, finding my way was directly tied to going all in on a program. So this topic about consistency, about finishing a program and overall success with coaching, it's so personal to me, because when I got started, I was completely focused on launches. I was all about hitting numbers that were going to show, my coach, all these people who were putting these expectations on me, from a positive way, that believed in me. I wanted to hit these big numbers to show them that, I could do this, right? So I was all about just getting people to join me. And it was all about that initial invite, right? It was just, I thought the business began and ended with the launch. I thought it was all in who I got to join me on that day one. And I was so program focused and launched focused, and I wasn't feeling focused. I was basically a walking infomercial instead of a walking inspiration. I was totally dependent on the reputation of the super trainers and promoting them, which they're amazing and they deserve to be promoted. But I was missing the piece of focusing on the experience of the challenger, of myself, of what the people I was reaching out to and wanting to connect to and help with could understand. I missed the power of the program and the personal transformation. I skipped over the whole concept of sharing my journey because I wasn't even going on one. It was like I was just promoting a program instead of going on a journey and inviting throughout it, sharing my transformation, helping the people, the few people who did trust me, helping them to get powerful results so that I could share those. So I was overly focused on having all of the answers, presenting as an expert. I overlooked the power of authenticity and vulnerability. This was so big for me. You know, I didn't go on a personal journey right away because I kind of thought I didn't need it. Like I was a health coach. So I didn't have that powerful experience where I had a true connection to the programs and the products that I was recommending to other people. I was pretty healthy. I saw my journey as like finished. So I wasn't trying to lose weight. So I didn't think I had a personal story to tell. And that made me unrelatable and someone whose actions couldn't be duplicated. So I had low retention. I was inconsistent in my own journey. That made me inconsistent in my accountability groups. I didn't have anything to talk about. I quit every time things weren't going well, or I thought that I had let someone down, that I had messed up, that I failed. That's when I would talk myself out of the business. So that's the example that I was setting. Yet I expected the people that I was engaging with or inviting to behave differently than I was behaving, right? So I measured success by the wrong markers. I was overly focused on hitting these number goals without any focus on getting results. And I realized when I went through 80-Day Obsession, you can't get to those big results without consistency. Like the power is actually in the journey. So if we fast forward, a few years later from the beginning of my coaching journey to when I completed 80-Day Obsession for the first time, I was able to solve for all of these reasons that were holding me back, that were hindering my success by one, being on my own journey first. Like I cannot tell you guys how much that piece played into me getting to where I am today. It is the number one thing. I will never stop being on my own journey. Number two, being in my BODgroup every single day. No excuses, like no excuses for not showing up in that group because those people trusted me to take them on a journey, to like share this experience with them. They didn't sign up to do it by themselves. They signed up to do it with me. So I need to show up in that group every single day. Consistency on my journey, consistency in that community journey, right? Being raw, not polished. Authenticity and realness gave me so much freedom in the coaching opportunity. When I stopped trying to present as perfect, when I stopped trying to act like I had all the answers, when I started talking about my struggles, when I started talking about my fears, when I started talking about how I hated Renegade Rose, that's when I started really finding my voice because I was being me. I wasn't trying to be who I thought people needed or wanted me to be. And that created so much freedom for me. Setting non-negotiables. This was huge. Non-negotiables for me were the key to establishing consistency. So the most important one being, like I said, and I'm going to keep saying it because it's been the most powerful thing in my journey, always being all in on a program. My number one non-negotiable. Since 80-Day Obsession, I have not been on a program. I have not completed a program. I've shown up every single day. And the cool thing is I've had the flexibility to choose a program that can meet me where I'm at that time in my life. It didn't have to be the current launch program if that wasn't a good fit for me. It didn't have to be the hardest program if that wasn't what my body needed right then. And that's allowed me to reach different audiences and speak to different aspects of the wellness journey. So always being on a program and choosing from the amazing library to fit my own needs naturally gives me something to talk about and something to share. And then tracking my consistency over everything else. So for the longest time, I was tracking things like SC numbers and ranks. And those things are good to hit. I'm not saying that, we shouldn't pay attention to them. But for me, the magic came in tracking consistency over everything else. I couldn't just say I was going to be committed. I had to actually track it and show myself the truth and the reality. How committed am I being? How consistent am I being? If I'm not getting the results I want, 9 times out of 10, I can trace it back to a lack of consistency. So I need to be tracking it. And I had to help my clients and my coaches track their consistency as well. So we started, I started this for myself, and then I shared this down through my team, through my challengers, through my coaches, the concept of setting non-negotiables and tracking our consistency. That was such a game changer. If I committed to post in my challenge group for 30 days straight and I missed a day, I started my consistency count back at 1. And that starting back, that's not about failing or quitting. That was about training my consistency muscle, learning to fall back, but not quit, and using that to build momentum, to build trust, to build connection. So when I went through 80-Day Obsession and I finished it, and I couldn't help but talk about the program, about how it changed my confidence, about how it changed my mindset, about how I realized that by showing up for myself every day for 80 days, I just realized not every day looked amazing. Some days I struggled. Some days were less than awesome, but you can't fail if you don't quit. Like, that became my mantra to myself. You can't fail if you don't quit. Forward progress always. So I took what I learned on that personal journey going through a program from start to finish, and I applied it to my business. And I set a handful of non-negotiables for myself, and I started to track my consistency with those. So I want to share those with you guys because they're really simple, but they were really powerful. So the first thing was to be on my own journey every single day, to always be on a program, because that gave me like something to talk about. I was having an experience, I was getting inspiration from the trainers. I was learning things about my body. So one was always being on a program. And these are just the things that I set for myself. Number 2, I was going to post in my newsfeed every single day about what I learned that day, how I felt, what was that day of my journey like, what were my struggles, how did I overcome them. I was going to share something every single day from that program journey that I was on. Then number 3 was I was going to connect and engage. So I was going to go in my Instagram stories and I was going to post 5 times a day minimum, including what I was doing in my program, 3 posts about, my wellness journey, my workout, my shake, my nutrition, my personal development, mindset, whatever it was. And then at least 2 posts just about me and my life, taking my kids to baseball practice, whatever it was. Number 4, I was going to actually talk like a video once a day. That was really hard for me, you guys. I am actually an extremely shy person. I was the girl who used to blush from the tips of my toes to the crown of my head anytime I had to speak in front of more than one person. So that was hard for me, but I wanted to make connections and I wanted to help. And then number 5 was I was going to engage with every person who engaged with me. If someone commented, if someone liked, if someone sent me a DM, if somebody watched my story, I was going to engage with them. And I started tracking my consistency with that. And I started measuring every day that I committed to those 5 things. And because 80 days obsession is what, really put me on the right path, my first commitment was to do it for 80 days straight and to not stop. And I did. I made it from day 1 to day 80 without missing a day. My business didn't blow up at that point. I didn't become, a diamond and a crazy earner in those 80 days. But what happened in those 80 days was I created consistency. I started to see momentum. I started to have meaningful conversations. I started to build trust with the community that I was building. And I started to see the power of showing up every single day. So at the end of those 80 days, I said, well, wow, this is working. So I'm not going to change anything right now. I'm just going to commit to another 80 days. And you guys want to know what I did? And this is the game changer for my business. This is what built all my momentum. It took me from launch coach to consistency coach. I repeated that 80-day challenge for myself for 2.5 years. And you know what? I know that sounds like a long time, but it also flew by. And my mantra became time plus consistency equals success. And if you think about the definition of consistency, it's acting or doing something in the same way over time. That's actually part of the definition. So being consistent means I had to do it for more than 30 days. I had to do it for more than 80 days. You know, I told you guys in the beginning, I never made it more than 6 months. But when I started tracking my consistency and realizing that every day my commitment was do one thing to move my business forward. Some days it was going to be 10 things and some days it was going to be one thing. But every day I was going to stick to those 5 non-negotiables as my minimum because I knew they would move my business forward. And they did. And I realized that in the past, I was putting a deadline on success. And what truly created success was removing the deadline and realizing that success would come from consistency in its own time. That by putting deadlines on myself, I'm going to try for this launch. I'd already failed before I even started because you can't truly build momentum in a 2-week launch or even a 30-day launch. It takes time for people to, this is what I realized for myself. It takes time for people to see me showing up every single day, to start to believe in that. Everyone can show up some of the time, right? Everyone can tick the boxes and eventually finish a program. You know, it might take them an extra 3 weeks because they skipped a day here and there because they had a little too much fun on the weekend or they were traveling or life got too busy, all the excuses that we all have, right? Everyone can be on their nutrition plan when it's easy, Monday through Friday at lunch, when their day is going perfectly as planned, or they're at home all day and the fridge is stocked with groceries. I realized that no one needed my help to live a moderately consistent lifestyle that would basically keep them right where they were already at. So by only doing launches, by only doing programs to fill the holes, by not showing people how I show up every single day, by not showing them what consistency looks like, by not being on my social media every day, sharing my journey, in my BODgroups every single day, sharing my journey, supporting, connecting, and engaging. Even if I was putting in the work, if I wasn't showing it in those 2 ways consistently every single day, then I wasn't helping to shift any mindset. I wasn't gaining any trust. If I'm not showing the people that I'm engaging with that I am consistent, if I'm not showing them what's possible by completing a program from start to finish and what that journey looks like, showing them that they can be consistent because I am someone that they relate to because they've gotten to know me by me showing up consistently and sharing my life, then there isn't any reason for them to, 1, choose to work with me, or 2, take a chance on believing that they can do it too. I have to show that. I have to be proof that the programs and the products work. And it takes more than a launch to show that, to really establish trust, to show people what consistency looks like and what this really takes. So how did I show them what consistency looks like? How did I show them that they could trust me to be the person to support them and to help them get different results than what they experienced from their past attempts? I had to be honest about my own struggles and failures. I had to be on a program consistently, not kind of consistently, not just for a launch, but like locked in every single day. And for me, consistency looks like them seeing me in my BODgroups every single day, on my social media every single day, doing my workouts, even if it means, it got pushed to the end of the day because I had a crazy day or I had to get up early. Consistency looks like them seeing me on a journey, not here's day one of a launch, here's what I look like on day 30, and they missed the whole magic in the middle, right? So I actually remember, I'll share this story about my BODgroup and about making that shift to being honest and being consistent. So I actually remember when I first started out and I had made this new commitment to consistency, right? And I'd committed to showing up in my BODgroups every single day to have accountability in my own journey and to be there for the people who had trusted me and said, I want to go on this journey with you, right? And I made this big speech about showing up every single day and we were going to do this together. And I missed 5 days in my accountability group, about 6 months into this new commitment to coaching for myself, right? And I almost let it end my coaching career. I was totally embarrassed. I felt like I let my customers down. I started telling myself all these stories. I assumed they were all frustrated with me. They thought, how can I show back up suddenly and ask them to trust me and to keep pushing when I had already let them down by being absent for 5 days? But then I took a minute and I thought about the consistency commitment that I had made and the non-negotiables that I had set. And I thought, why can't I just recommit? I've been down the path where I quit and I don't like how it ends. I don't like not being accountable. I don't like letting people down. I don't like letting myself down. I don't like how it feels. And I didn't want it to end like that again. So I decided to try something different. I decided to try honesty. And I went live in my group and I owned the setback. I apologized and I recommitted with a new plan. And I talked about the fact that we all fall down sometimes and that consistency means not quitting, not seeing that as a total failure. Consistency means recommitting and starting over. And guess what? It actually made us as a community so much closer. It bonded us. And we all started looking for ways that we could recommit to ourselves and recommit to each other. And it ended up being one of the most powerful experiences for that group and also for me as a coach. So, what happened when I started going all in on program after program, you guys? This is where the magic really came in for me. Because what had held me back in those first 3 years were a lot of fears and limiting beliefs and unrealistic expectations. And going all in on a program after program, it actually ended up being the cure, the solution to overcoming all of those new coaching woes and new coaching fears. All of my insecurities related to coaching started to disappear when I started to complete program after program. So my fear of not knowing what to say or what to share was not a problem anymore because I was learning from the trainers every day. I was being inspired by what they were sharing every day. I was personally experiencing breakthroughs. I was getting stronger mentally and physically and more consistent and then more confident. And I was learning things about myself. So I was never at a lack for something valuable to say or share. And I started having more powerful, inspiring posts because I was on this journey every single day. I started going live on my Instagram stories right after my workouts while I was in the moment. And then I'd go live in my BODgroups. And it created so many opportunities for conversations in both places. And this was so different than when I only focused on a launch, because when I was focused on a launch, it was before I'd experienced the program. I was talking about possibility. But when I started focusing on consistency and the journey, then people were seeing reality. And this started changing everything, especially in my BODgroups. Everyone started sharing what they were learning, what they were being inspired by, how they were feeling. And then the people who might have been slacking or falling off a little bit on their programs, they started saying things like, I haven't done my workout in 3 days, but I saw everyone's posts and I just went and pushed play. So being on that journey consistently, it changed how the people in my challenge group showed up. It changed what I had to say, what I had to talk about. Imposter syndrome, you guys, that was a big one for me. I was so worried that people were going to get into my groups and get to know the real me and start to think she's got flaws just like the rest of us, like, why am I putting my trust in her? She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's failing, she's struggling. Gone when I started completing program after program consistently. I realized I didn't have to be perfect. I didn't have to have all the information or all the answers. I didn't have to be at some finishing point, at a goal weight, at a goal strength, lifting a certain amount of weight. I just had to be on a journey. I was growing. That's what I was sharing. And that's what people connected with. They didn't connect with a finished product. They didn't connect with someone who had all the answers. They didn't respond to me just spouting facts at them. They responded to me sharing experiences with them. So my imposter syndrome started to go away. My fear of not knowing enough, of not being enough, started to go away because I was on this powerful journey and they could see that. I worried so much in the beginning because my team name is Hustle with Heart, because I really do have such a heart and such a passion for helping people with their health and wellness. And the money piece of asking people for money, I really struggled with that in the beginning as a new coach. And I thought, I don't want people to think I'm just in this for the money. Being all in on a program, having a personal transformation, powerful experiences, having my life changed by my own wellness journey, the money doesn't even cross my mind anymore. And I don't think that anybody out there questions my intentions anymore, because people know how passionate I am about this lifestyle. They know how passionate I am about the tools I'm using, about the program that I'm doing, because they see me talking about it every single day. It's not just me promoting a program that's coming up. It's not just me being a commercial for a program. I am a broken freaking record, and I take the time to show up every single day for what I'm living, what I'm experiencing. And the natural authenticity of that comes through to where my intentions are no longer a question for myself or for the people that are watching me. I'm already showing up on my social media so much that people, they can't wait to get into my groups and see what the experience is going to be like. They know I'm not going to let them down because they see that I haven't let myself down. They see me showing up month after month after month, program after program after program, and that builds trust. So just like my first group after 80-day obsession, where I shared how I felt every day, what I was learning every day, how I pep talked myself into continuing to show up even when I was scared, I'm sharing in my BODgroup every morning. The first thing they see when they wake up is a post from me. And every week I'm in there going live talking about my experience with the program that we're doing and responding to the posts that I see from the people in my group. I'm celebrating what they're proud of. I'm offering encouragement for what they're struggling with. I'm not trying to be an expert. I don't claim to have all the answers. I am committed to a journey, and I'm just inviting people into that process. So it removed, being on this journey consistently, program to program, it removed so much of the fears and the stigmas that I experienced as a new coach.
I'm blown away. I'm so glad that Facebook has that little emoji with the head blowing. Okay, because not only has this call resonated with so many people, but you're brilliant in the way that you're tracking consistency. Like, that's your measure of success.
Yeah.
That is the biggest shift that is just unimaginable right now. Like how many people that you have really impacted with just that statement. And also what's possible versus what is actual. Like you're talking so much, we are talking so much about, hey, the possibilities are out there. You could have this happen to you. You could be on this journey too. But if you're not backing it up with actual behavior, then no one believes you.
Right.
So that was huge. I mean, I put on this call every single week as like the producer of the call, and I'm making sure that all the bells and whistles are happening. But when I sit back and listen to you, if I was a new coach, this is crucial. What you're saying right now proves to people that quitting is not an option. It's
no.
it's pushing through and keeping at it, but the consistency If you quit on your consistency, that's worse.
Yeah, we're all going to fall down. We're all going to fall back. We're all going to have bad days and bad moments, even bad weeks. But when I started going like, oh, this is just part of the process. It doesn't mean I'm a failure. Life ebbs and flows. This business ebbs and flows. My journey ebbs and flows. It was accepting that and deciding that I wasn't focused on perfection. I was focused on consistency. That was like, so it sounds really simple, but that was my big aha moment that helped me to stop quitting on myself and helped me to be consistent. And
yeah, I even wrote down, like, you learned to flex your training. You're training a consistency muscle, but also you're learning how to fall back, not to quit, but just learning that just falling back a little bit is okay. It's keeping that consistency going. And the way that you measure your consistency is do a little bit every day.
Exactly. And, I decided to measure consistency because I realized that, sometimes we can really trick ourselves into thinking that we're being consistent, right? And that's kind of the magic of the Success Club, the activity tracker, is if you aren't measuring it, it's really easy to like talk yourself into like, I'm consistent, and, maybe you posted about, like, for me, it would be like, oh, I posted about my workout 3 times this week. That's not consistent though, because maybe that means some people saw it once, other people didn't see it at all.
Yeah.
If I want to be an example of consistency, then consistency means showing up every single day. And that's what I started to measure.
Well, I think also we need to look at progress. I mean, we don't want to just be a hamster on the wheel, just posting, and it gets you nowhere. There's got to be progress.
Yes.
So if something's not working, tweak it and see if something else works better, but still continue to do something.
Absolutely. And that's where the power of the program comes in, because that's where, for me, that's where my progress comes from. And I can talk about my setbacks. I just had surgery, then I had COVID. I had a lot of setbacks, but I just shared them and I talked about what I was choosing. Hey, here's my plan to get back to consistency. Here's my plan to get back to health. Life's not perfect, but it's just about sharing and being authentic. And so creating consistency for me, it was the magic. And I realized, like, number one, I have to be showing up in my BODgroup every single day. And this used to be really challenging for me. So I started to think about why. And the reason was I wasn't doing a program from start to finish. But when I'm on a program, it's very easy to show up in there every day because I have so much to talk about and so much to share. And, like you said, it's about the progress and tweaking things. So if we're on our own journey, we should easily have 2 things to share in our BODgroup every day. At least something from our nutrition and something from our fitness. And I also had to realize I needed to let go of this like idea of everything always having to be beautiful and perfect. Like, I didn't need to create beautiful slides to run an engaging BODgroup. I didn't need like gorgeous graphics. I am not good at that stuff. And I'm the first to admit it. Just focused on what my strengths are.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you. You also said that you didn't have any weight to lose. I mean, you didn't have that coming in, so you didn't have a story to tell. But it's not even about the weight. I mean, the growth of just your mindset in the last 6 years, I was kind of smiling because I've seen this, and the way that people become a coach can take, time and effort and consistency. So I'm going to finally ask you the last question for the call. And that is, what would you say has been a key factor in your success the last 6 years?
Yeah, I would say the key factor in my success, like I've been saying, is being on a program, like start to finish, always on a program, because that's what's helped me to grow in my confidence. And not just my confidence in myself, but also like my confidence in this business, in this opportunity, in the programs, in the supplements and the nutrition, because I'm experiencing how they're changing my life. And I realized that this is really about leading by example. So, if I want other people to be consistent, I have to be consistent. If I want them to try a program, I have to do the program. If I want them to go all in, I've got to go all in. If I want people in my BOD groups to be engaging and to post, I have to be in my BOD group engaging and posting. I have to be willing to do it every day for a long time without quitting. Even if I'm not getting, the results that I want, even if I'm not getting the response that I want right away, Sandy, it's like you said, be willing to tweak it, but don't stop. So those first 3 years, I was constantly losing my momentum, like before I'd barely gained it. So when I started tracking consistency and committing to consistency and showing up every single day, regardless, and trusting the process, it got easier the longer I did it. And for me, when people aren't responding the way I want them to respond, when my groups aren't going the way I want them to go, I have to step back and take a look at what's my consistency look like? What am I sharing? Trust is earned. So I have to show up, even when my BOD group's not showing up, even when my social media community is not showing up. That's what I promised to do. I promised to be a source of support and accountability and to show people what consistency looks like. So I needed to be that until people felt safe to trust me. So, I really realized that in the beginning, I was looking for validation from others, like from my groups that I was a good coach, and from social media that I was, inspiring and helpful. And this isn't about other people giving me validation, right? I need to pull that from within by being on my journey. Like Sandy said, I didn't have weight to lose, but I had a lot of other things to lose. I had negative mindset to lose. I had fears and insecurities to lose. I had strength to gain. I had confidence to gain. So I needed to pull that validation from within and then share it with the people that I was reaching out to. Decide like they're worth my time. They're likely to quit on themselves. They've done it before, just like I used to quit on myself. So I need to be here to teach them what consistency looks like, to not quit on myself, even when things are hard, even when it seems like I've plateaued or I'm stagnant, and show them what it looks like to show up when it's hard, to show up through the struggles, to stay committed when it's not easy. Commitment's easy when everything's going smoothly and life is great. And that's not really that inspiring because people are capable of that. But being committed when things are hard and showing people what's my mindset around that? How am I making it work? That's where the magic was at. And if people weren't responding the way I want, it's because I wasn't sharing the way I needed to be sharing or showing up the way I needed to be showing up for a long time. Longevity is part of the definition of consistency. So if I want an engaging online community, if I want an engaging BOD group, I need to be engaging. I need to go live. I need to tell my truth, tell my story. I need to celebrate the little wins and really look for them. It's not always going to be about some giant external transformation. Sometimes it's going to be little wins like I got rid of, tight hips and hip pain, or I started to believe in myself, or I woke up at 5:30 and did my workout 14 days straight. And I started treating everybody like my friends. Like, how would I talk to my friends about this? So I decided, for myself, there's just no excuse to stop. I want to be a healthy, happy person. And that takes consistency and being on my own journey. I want to help other people to find their healthy and find their happy. So that takes showing up when it's hard. And the BOD groups for me really became a huge piece of this too, because that is where I really connected with people. And that's where I really started to find my footing in coaching. And so if I started to ask myself, why were those groups in the beginning not successful? And how do I create groups that are thriving and successful that contribute to my business growth and to my long-term success? And again, be consistent on my journey. Before one group ends, I already know what my next plan is. What's my next program? What am I going to be doing? I'm already sharing that with people. And maybe they don't want to do exactly what I'm doing, but then I'm helping them decide their plan before the first commitment is even over. So, every 3 weeks, we're looking at what's the plan for the next 30 days. We're always ahead of the game. We're always on a program. We're always planning. I was always worried about what to share, what to say, like, am I going to be helpful enough? And I stopped trying to recreate the wheel and to I took my ego out of the equation. I didn't have to create everything from scratch. I didn't have to have all the answers. There are challenge group guides in the coach office. I was like, why am I not using these? Use them, start with them. It wasn't always my voice, my style, but it gave me a starting point and I could tweak them. When I wanted to start using pretty graphics, because I thought like, hey, maybe this would add a new element of fun. I bought some guides on Etsy for like $9, $10, but then I still tweaked them. I put my personality into it. I put my story into it. I put my journey into it. I made it personal, but I didn't have to recreate the wheel. So that was a big part of it too. Like, I trust the trainers to develop programs that work, and I follow those programs. I trust the nutrition experts to develop plans that work, and I follow that plan. I just needed to take a plan and put it into place and use it. So I didn't have to create everything from scratch. That's not what makes a great coach. For me, that was a big shift from 3 years ago to today. I was trying to do it all, create it all from scratch, because I thought that would validate me as a good coach. But a good coach for me is someone who shows up consistently every single day and is on their own journey. And I didn't have to be the smartest person in the room. I needed to be the most consistent person in the room. That was the shift for me. Be raw, not polished. Beautiful graphics aren't going to get challengers to engage, at least not for me. But beautiful stories, that will get people to engage. And stories come from living life, from being on a journey. And there's beauty in the mess. So share my struggles, show people that I'm human, that I can mess up, that I can have bad days, but I can still not quit. I can be consistent. And those bad days and those mess ups and those struggles, they become fewer and far between. And that's progress. And that is inspiring to people. And that is motivating to people. So I had to learn to be real, to be vulnerable, to be willing to be seen. And the biggest thing for me, and the thing that I preach in my team page all the time, this was my original lesson from 80-Day Obsession. I never imagined I could do something 80 days, start to finish, and not miss a day. And what I realized is there were bad days in that. There were hard workouts. There were days where I felt like I underperformed. But I didn't quit, and I experienced so much change, so much transformation. And my mantra became, you can't fail if you don't quit. And that is what I applied to my business. I haven't stopped moving forward, showing up for my business every single day since I finished 80-Day Obsession. As long as I'm on my journey, I'm never going to run out of things to share. I'll never run out of things to talk about. I'll never stop being inspiring to someone, because one of the most unique differentiators to me in this industry is consistency. Being a launch coach, that was pretty easy, but not successful. I could show up and share slides and talk about bullet points about a program. But when you're consistent, it automatically puts you ahead of the pack, because most people are out there talking about things and doing things when they're easy. And then they're quieting down and falling off when they get hard, when life gets busy, when they start to struggle. If you're the person, this is what I tell myself every day, be the most consistent person. If they see me every single day, they can't forget me. They can't forget about what I'm doing. So consistency is what changed my business. It took me from fledgling coach who couldn't figure out how to make this business work to, a thriving 2-time elite coach. And it's the number one mindset thing I teach all my coaches, and the ones who take it seriously, who really make consistency the priority. For me, that's what I'll keep you around for 4 years and counting.
So good, Calie. So good. I'm so happy that you came on. It was brilliant today, and I really appreciate you putting this together for the audience. So thank you very much, you guys. Have a great week. This has been an incredible call. Please let people know to go back and watch or listen on the podcast, okay? And you guys make it a great week. See you here next week. Bye-bye.